today, and their case is expected to be postponed for further investigations. Mamita Nguban and Nevondo are accused of killing 3 suspected gang members in separate incidents. They have been charged with the murder of Calvin Sintumule, Rufuno Mukese, and Sidole Munaodzi. Other 3 accused in the gang-related killing, Donald Mudao, Joshua Rachili, and a police officer, Nchavin Donyane, have also abandoned their bail application. They will appear next month. More than 10 men suspected to be members of rival gangs were shot and killed in separate incidents in the Tendo area in the past 11 months. Last year, there was also an incident where 19 suspected gang members were shot and killed during a shootout with police in Louis-Trichardt.
That is our reporter there in Limpopo, Michael Makungo. Let's take you straight to the news headlines. We'll be back straight after with business, sport, as well as looking at what's happening in the Tshwane Council.
Thanks, Wongi. A very good afternoon. With the news headlines, it's been revealed that the Gauteng Health Department allegedly paid 3.9 million rand to 7 Cuban doctors that had left South Africa for Cuba. Another suspect has been arrested in the ongoing investigation into the Steinhofer insider trading case, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says he has not given any response to a proposal by the US and France for a 21-day ceasefire with Hezbollah. Details of these and other stories coming up 1 o'clock.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Thank you very much, Midubi. Let's now look at some business news. The rand is trading at 17 rand 21 cents to the dollar, 22 rand 98 to the pound sterling, and 19 rand 18 to the euro. The euro is trading at $1.11, and the dollar is at 144 yen 83. In Brazil, $1 is trading at 5 real 47. In Russia, at 92 rubles 45. In India, at 83 rupees 70. And in China, a dollar is changing hands at 7 yuan and 1. Now, markets in Asia were higher at closing bell. Hong Kong's Hang Seng jumped 4%. Mainland China's Shanghai index climbed 3.5%. Japan's Nikkei rose 3%, and while India's markets are slightly higher at the close of trade. The JSE have extended gains at midday. The all-share index has added 1.3% at 87,036. The industrial 25 index has gained 1.8%, and financials have increased by 0.3%. Top 10 resources index have advanced 1.8%, and the precious metals and mining index is 1.5% to the good. On the capital market, the yield on the R186 government bonds is 7.98%, and the yield on the R2030 is at 8.85%. Markets in Europe are currently in positive terrain. Britain's FTSE 100 is up 0.4%, and the CAC 40 in France has gained 1.6%, and the Germany's DAX is 1.2% in the green. And looking at commodities now, gold is trading at $2,668 and platinum at $1,005 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $71.88 a barrel.
This is SAFM Sport.
Hello, Liesel Olivier.
Hello, Bongi Zwane. Nice to be here again.
Lovely to have you here in studio. So, Nem,
Yeah.
of course, Argentina is here. Of course, the Boks are here and all of that.
Yes.
But, for me, I'm so impatient. I'm really counting down to Saturday.
Yes.
When we show them what we are made of and we really claim the title.
But this has been weighing heavily on your mind all
It has
week.
been. It still is. And I tell you, on Saturday, I will be celebrating like there's no tomorrow.
And I will be joining you
There we
in
go.
our green and gold. And therefore, it's fitting that we start with rugby news. By the way, Bongi, Argentina say they believe they have what it takes to upset the Springboks in the so-called Rugby Championship final in Mbombela on Saturday. Both sides are in with a chance of being crowned champions, and both are fully intent on making the most of their opportunities. Los Pumas have beaten the Boks, the All Blacks and the Wallabies in this season's competition and remain a huge threat, even at a stadium where the world champions have never lost a match. The Boks are weary of Felipe Contepomi's charges, and with good reason. Argentina assistant coach Kendrick Lynn says the side is very hungry for a first rugby championship title.
There's a lot on the line. There's a rugby championship on the line. We've been happy with how we've been going, but we know that to get the kind of performance that we want, we need to step it up again. So look, I fully back these guys. They're great guys to coach. They're really excited about what lies ahead. So can we do it? Yeah, we'll see you on Saturday evening.
We'll see you, Kendrick. Meanwhile, the Lions have put their Currie Cup disappointment behind them and are looking forward to starting afresh in this season's United Rugby Championship. The Johannesburg side narrowly lost to the Sharks in the final last weekend, but are now awaiting the arrival of Ulster for their opening match of the championship on Saturday. The two teams go into this weekend's encounter on the back of two very different experiences. While the Lions suffered a last-minute loss to the Sharks, while Ulster recorded a last-minute win over the defending champions, Glasgow Warriors, in the URC opening round. The local side wants to continue where they left off last season, especially after narrowly missing out on a place in the playoffs. A good start to the series, especially on home soil, is vital. Assistant coach Baden Pieterse says, though, that Ulster will be a tough nut to crack.
They've got some new players in that gives them a little bit more of an attacking threat. And obviously then from a set-piece point of view, they'll always be strong. I think they struggled a little bit in scrums, but that is something we think they will sort out. They've got a very good line-out in terms of mauling. So even though they're travelling and everything, I think they've got a good system.
The clash in Johannesburg kicks off at 5-1. The other South African teams in the competition, the Bulls, the Sharks and Stormers, will also start their campaigns on Saturday. In Betway Premiership action last night, Soweto Giants Kaizer Chiefs picked up another win. They beat AmaZulu. There's great excitement here around me. They beat AmaZulu 3-1 at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban. The Amakosi scored all three goals within the first 23 minutes of the clash. Stellenbosch were also triumphant, beating Cape Town City 3-0 in a much-anticipated Cape Derby. Coach Steve Barker was a very happy man.
I thought the first 35 to 45 was an even game. I mean, they've hit target, it's hit Sage in the face. That goes in, it's a different type of game. So I thought it was very competitive, but I do believe that once we sort of got the momentum going and we got the second goal, it could have obviously been a bit more than just a 3, but happy with the performance. I asked the players, everybody has to put in man of the match performances, and it wasn't easy, I'm sure, to decide who the man of the match was. I think a number of players deserved it.
Well, the man of the match was Andre de Jong. Supersport United defeated TS Galaxy 1-0, while Skukune United and Chippa United played to a 1-1 draw. The clash between Golden Arrows and Magesi FC was abandoned in the 86th minute due to a transformer problem at the stadium. Magesi was leading 1-0. That match will be decided within the next few minutes. Internationally, Tottenham Hotspur have also expressed worry regarding the workload of top players. Speaking ahead of the side's Europa League meeting with Azerbaijani side Karabakh, Captain Son Heung-min said he feared that players would get injured due to the amount of games that they expected to play and the lack of rest time. Manchester City and Manchester United are some of the big clubs that have already expressed concern regarding their hectic schedule. Son says the fact that there's no flexibility regarding the schedule is part of the problem.
I think the program was adding even more games, and for example, like City games, they play on Sunday and Tuesday. This was not even flexible, so you could move for the guys play Wednesday instead of Tuesday, so but it's not fixable, so we are not flexible. I think this we are talking about, and it's normal that everybody get injury and high risk of the injury. I think it's not fair.
In tennis, top seed and world number 1 Yannick Sinner of Italy lost the first set 6-4 to Chilean Nicolas Jarry in the first round of the China Open in Beijing. But then Sinner took the next to 6-3, 6-1 to advance to the next round. Second seed Carlos Alcaraz of Spain and third seed Daniil Medvedev will both be in action tomorrow. Alcaraz will take on Gael Monfils of France, while Medvedev will do battle against another Frenchman, Giovanni Mpetsi Perricard. And finally, in cricket, Sri Lanka won the toss and elected to bat first on day one of the second test against New Zealand in Galle. The Sri Lankans are going along nicely after losing opener Pathum Nissanka for 1. Their latest available score is 221 for 3, with Dinesh Chandimal losing his wicket just moments ago, out for 116. He was bowled by Glenn Phillips. The hosts won the first test by 63 runs. I'm Liesl Willifeed for Update at Noon Sport.
Quite interesting. The cricket.
Which
then,
one now?
Cricket.
Oh, I thought the soccer.
No. The soccer, we shall not get into it, because if you and I get into it, we're sitting on opposite fence. Sides
with the
of
rugby,
fence.
not so
the
much.
Other one's there, the other one's there. So, yabo.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Chula.
I will keep quiet. I will see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Attention all caregivers of children. Are you and your children's vaccinations up to date? Vaccinations can prevent serious diseases and prevent hospital stays. Protect your little ones by getting them vaccinated. Don't wait until it's too late. Talk to your healthcare provider today about getting your child vaccinated against serious childhood diseases. Because health matters. This message is brought to you by Sanofi and the National Department of Health.
Weeknights on S3 are anything but ordinary. BBC Primetime brings you the best of British television from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Open your mind to Life on Death Row, Thursdays at 9 p.m. and Resistance in a Hostile Environment, a 3-part documentary showcasing turning points which would go on to define race relations in the UK for a generation. Thursdays at 10 p.m. Wind down your weeknights with The Outlaws, Fridays at 9 p.m. and explore the world's most dangerous roads at 10 p.m. Channel your best entertainment with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up. S3.
Win your share of 50,000 Rand when you play Winning at Live with OneLive. Don't forget to enter on our website, safm.co.za. Stay tuned to the morning brief on SAFM. Keep your phone on loud and we might be the one to change your life. OneLive is a licensed life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. OneLive, changing lives.
Channel Heritage Day your way on Afternoon Express on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. As Chef Ruben Riffel braais lekker curried lamb skewers, we rock our traditional regalia, and Jules Harding of Good Luck celebrates her daughter Skylar's first Heritage Day, and it's orange malva pudding for dessert. That's Afternoon Express this Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on S3.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
All right, I do understand we have a caller on the line, Gary, who wants to comment on one of our top stories. Hi, Gary.
Hi, good day. I just want to find out, the brigadier spoke from the Hawks, spoke about the Steinhoff case, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, the man's dead. There's been convictions in Germany. Now, what has happened about the state capture and all those kind of guys that all of a sudden joined Jacob Zuma in MK? Why don't they, have they ever investigated, or they're never going to investigate something like that?
So, Gary, I think with the Steinhoff one, for example, it can't be the end because, as they say, that they're not ruling out more possible arrests because they say a number of people are possibly, involved in this particular one. So accountability definitely is key. But with state capture matters, I'm sure you've seen when we've followed up, even asking what's happening with certain investigations, because the reports, the installments of the Zondo Commission's reports are right there. And they're telling us that they're investigating. And the NPA keeps on saying that they're investigating. They'll put more cases. The Hawks are also saying the same thing. So you're raising quite valid points. You're raising a very, very valid point of state capture cases, because a lot of people have been saying that there needs to be a faster, almost like a more faster approach towards ensuring that they're investigating.
I mean, so everybody's going to be dead. everybody's going to be dead by the time they want to investigate it, and what can we do about it?
I think it speaks to an accelerated approach that you say is needed, and you're not the only one. You're not the only one. A number of people have been saying we need to investigate serious allegations that are leveled against individuals, because there are people who are accused, but some of them, remember, they are refuting these allegations. For example, you do have some people who are within the ANC, for example, who are saying that they are refuting some of the allegations, and they want to take the report on review. So certainly, as you say, Gary, it is quite an important conversation, and maybe one that we need to keep, putting our finger on and not letting it go, so that we really just get to see what is happening there with the state capture matters. But thank you so much, Gary. That's Gary from Bloemfontein there.
Yeah, okay,
and,
2 seconds.
All right, okay.
2 seconds.
Go ahead.
It's the Stalingrad tactic, and that can go on for 50 years.
So are you saying that they mustn't challenge the reports
No,
if they don't believe that?
The people that's involved is pulling a Jacob Zuma with a Stalingrad attitude. So this can go on for 50 years.
So I think, though, it also speaks to the rule of law in South Africa, that if somebody wants to, challenge a matter, maybe it should play out in court so we all hear the facts for ourselves, don't you think?
I'm not holding my breath.
Really?
Honestly.
Aye, Gary, it means then we need to keep our finger and our foot on the accelerator and not let it go on this one. But thank you so much for calling. We definitely will. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for calling. I appreciate it. That's Gary there in Bloemfontein. And I do understand there's Mokwena in Rustenburg. Mokwena, good afternoon.
Matita, good day. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Please turn down your radio a little bit for us.
I did.
Thank you.
I had to listen to you and Gary. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you. Go ahead.
I just quickly wanted to take the issue of the state capture, just also to add on what Gary has just said.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which the issue of state capture, I think it's, I don't know if I will say that it has already tarnished lots of people's names, and when you look at it, those people are not charged. You look at Brian Molefe, for argument's sake, as well as Mechela Koko. They were both charged and arrested, and later on the NPA came out and said that they don't have enough evidence to arrest those people. So you can just see that, with the issue of state captures, that those which are marked so that they should be, followed, and there are those which they are enjoying the benefits of being on to a certain group into the ruling party.
So are you saying that they are treated differently here? Because I remember in June when the court was announcing that it's withdrawing the case brought by Corruption Watch against Brian Molefe and several high-ranking officials, for example. That case, of course, we saw it and it played out in public. But are you saying that cases are being treated differently, or what exactly is your concern?
That's my concern. The cases have been most definitely treated differently. If you are the neoliberal, then you are treated in a certain way. And when you are saying that I want the constitution to benefit the majority of South Africans, we are not saying black South Africans. We are saying it should benefit the majority of South Africans, not few individuals. And then you are targeted in that manner. And you look at the issue of Phala, for argument's sake. We know that there was a prima facie evidence that the president had to answer to, but where is it now?
It's with the courts. It's with the courts, Mokwena, as we end off our conversation. It's with the courts. And remember, the president has filed his papers to respond to the EFF's papers because the EFF want that particular matter to still stay on. So let's see and how this one plays out in court. But thank you so much, Mokwena, for your inputs there. Do appreciate them. Let's take a listen to some of your voice notes now.
It is very difficult to find out the employment situation because the statistics are heavily cooked. Many South Africans do not have a job for many years but never appeared in unemployment statistics, I will say that unemployment and underemployment is still very high in this country. Peter Ampatela Mashid, good afternoon.
Hi, the lady there. You see, the lady, Banyasali Swifi suggested the policy framework to be developed that was going to regulate these coalition procedures or system in municipalities. You see, we cannot afford to have this notorious phrase, vote of no confidence, vote of no confidence, all throughout the year. Thank you, Willie here in Kuma.
Jambo Africa, Sister Bongs, good afternoon to you, good afternoon to your team. Great show always. It's Uncle JJ, the truck driver in Western Cape. You see what's on my mind this morning? You know, like maybe Mr. President also to give a portion of post in police to Mackenzie. You see, Mackenzie, he's too wara, but he's active. 1, 2, he's smart. Some other ministers, you don't think he's a minister. If you see him, you know, people are being robbed. We need GNU to take action to those who doesn't display their number plates. Sister Bongi.
There will be humongous fighting spirit accompanied by high emotions, tension, and drama. Because this is a meeting of giants. Golden Black targets maximum points as part of the Heritage Month celebrations. But Double Yellow says the Yellow Nation only gets impressed by victory. This is the Betway Premiership. Witness the massive clash between Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns on Saturday, 28 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Africa from Within follows the journey of our anchor presenters who travel to various locations in order to delve into the inner workings and untold stories of the unsung heroes. At its core, Africa from Within is all about grassroots storytelling and the showcasing of the conservation contributions of ordinary people to Africa. It aims to engage and entertain viewers, educate and promote conservation, and inspire viewers to value our natural heritage. Don't miss Africa from Within on SABC2 every Friday at 7 p.m.
Attention all caregivers of children. Are you and your children's vaccinations up to date? Vaccinations can prevent serious diseases and prevent hospital stays. Protect your little ones by getting them vaccinated. Don't wait until it's too late. Talk to your healthcare provider today about getting your child vaccinated against serious childhood diseases. Because health matters. This message is brought to you by Sanofi and the National Department of Health.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Bongiwe Zwane on SAFM.
All right, let's go to the story that we've been tracking. The Carter's Shop Owners Association and Gauteng Department of Economic Development intermediary Family Tree Holdings have released a joint statement rubbishing allegations leveled against the two entities by spaza shop owners in Katlehong, east of Johannesburg. Earlier this week, Updated Noon spoke to Build One South Africa leader Musi Maimane and Katlehong shop owner Neo Mutaung, who accused Family Tree Holdings of colluding with the Carter's Shop Owners Association in order to shortchange local spaza shop owners meant to be assisted by the 100 million rand Kasi Mnoto Fund initiative. Remember, we also spoke to Family Tree as well, and they were also talking about the fact that, according to them, no money has been dispersed. They're still fixing some structures when it comes to what the developments are here. Let's get another side of the story to this one. We're speaking to Tsidiso Musia, also known as Mzambia. He's the chairperson of the Carter's Shop Owners Association Association. Good afternoon to you, Tsiriso, and thank you so much for your time. Let's talk about this Katoras Shop Owners Association. When was it established and what role does it play in the upliftment of Spatha shop owners in Katlehong?
Good day, ma'am, with your listeners. Yes, Katoras Shop Owners was established in 2019. From 2019, we after we occupied our shops, the community decided to take over the township economy. So we occupied all the shops that were run by foreign nationals. We were more than 3,000. Yes, that's Katoras Shop Owners.
And when it comes then to Family Tree in the Gauteng Department of Economic Development, how would you describe your relationship with him?
Okay, first, Family Tree is dealing with more than 22 associations. So actually, Family Tree, we work with them because we have got members that are running sponsor shops. After they've done their relationship with GDET, that's when Family Tree and Katoras Shop Owners sat down and said, okay, we are looking for people who are looking for funds, and then we're going to do training with them also. And Family Tree is approaching the executive of Katoras Shop Owners Association. So as the chairperson, we agreed to speak to them.
Yeah.
And then what we have done, we have trained our people with Family Tree. Yes, and then we have opened business accounts, which Family Tree is in partnership with APSA. So we opened business account for them. And then again,
hold on. Before you move on, I just want us to get clarity.
Yes,
Pardon me. So you're saying that training happened when?
The training happened in 2022.
Okay. And then these accounts that are opened, what were they opened for?
The accounts were opened for them so that we can prepare them for when the fund comes.
Have the funds been dispersed?
Yes, when the funds been dispersed, they must be ready.
Okay, so has money been released into those accounts, according to your knowledge?
Not yet. What we were doing as Katoras Shop Owners, there's a Stockfell group that they are playing in different categories. So that's how they were actually building their transaction history with the bank.
Yeah. So
and making their business to work. Yes.
We had a conversation with one of the business owners who was raising concerns yesterday. Now saying that one, there was a contracts that you personally, your name came up, that you were making people sign contracts at night and they did not know what they were signing. Is that true?
No, that's not true. I'm not working at night. The office is open from 9 till 4. The contract is talking about, I don't know. What we do, when a member hears good stories that we are doing in the office, they come straight to the office. There's a form for them to show that they have joined. We've got files in our office. Sometimes we've got their database in the laptops. We don't do night things.
So is there someone who was paid 75,000 rand as Spatha shop owner to keep quiet? That's what Neo was claiming.
Sure. No, I'm not sure about that. I've never heard about that.
So these allegations that keep coming up, that people are saying that they're finding themselves having had to pay monies and all of that, and the monies that they're paying is to some are saying protection, some are saying to try and build up credit. These 5,000 rand, do you know about it? What's happening there?
My sister, Katoras Shop Owners started in 2019. Remember, it was a thing of community.
Yeah.
And me as a leader, we were voted in by the community. So what happened when these foreign nationals were going? Everybody wanted to come to Katlehong to open spaza shops. You will find 5 or 10 spaza shops in the same street. So the community and the members of Katoras Shop Owners decided that for people to discourage people to come and open spaza shops, just like in the taxi industry. Can you put our joining fee, which it must be 5,000? Then after that, like now, they came back again and do another meeting and take a resolution to say, look, everybody now is not doing spicer shops, they are doing butcheries, bakeries, and. So now, there's very same members, they said the joining fee is now going to be 800. And that 800 is only helping the office to be paid. We're paying 15,000 every month at the office. Imagine from 2019, the office has been open till today.
So,
and that office is not for It's not for from Zambia. It's for the members. We've got WhatsApp group here where we are communicating. The members are calling us to say, can you come maybe take from 50 rand going upwards? We're not even specific to say you can contribute or donate this much.
All right.
Now it's just an angry member. Yes.
Okay. Let's pause there for a second and just thank you for your time. We're going to continue to follow this one, Tsidiso, and hopefully have you back again to talk about exactly what is going on here, and hopefully maybe even after the meeting you will possibly have with the Gauteng department and everyone else, then we can have all of you at the table to understand what's going on from all vantage points here. That's Tsidiso Mosia, also known as Mzambia. He's the chairperson of the Katora's Shop Owners Association. As we said even yesterday and the day before, there are many layers to this particular story, and we'll continue to bring you all the installments here. But thank you so much for keeping us company here on Update at Noon. We're back again tomorrow with more news and developing stories. Medupi Makhalimele is standing by with the latest.
Thank you very much, Sister Bongs. The top stories at 1. Cuban doctors allegedly paid millions without working, and Israel ignores calls for a Hezbollah ceasefire. A very good afternoon. It's been revealed that Gauteng Health allegedly paid 3.9 million rand to 7 Cuban doctors that had left South Africa for Cuba. This is contained in a written reply to a question by the DA's Jack Bloom in the Gauteng legislature. Bloom says that the doctors were part of a group of 28 hired to combat COVID-19. He says the contracts of the 7 Cuban doctors were irregularly extended for another year, and they continued receiving salaries without working until May 2022.
It's really appalling that the Gauteng Health Department paid 7 Cuban doctors 3.9 million rand for an entire year while they were back home in Cuba. It shows you that there's massive incompetence in the Gauteng Health Department as well as probable corruption, and this needs to stop. We're wasting huge amounts of money while people suffer in our hospitals.
Free State Education says it has committed to immediately implementing cost containment measures designed to ensure that no educator loses their job. This follows the recent announcement regarding budget cuts by the National Department. Provincial Department spokesperson Howard Ndaba says they will prioritize the education of learners while ensuring that the livelihoods of educators are protected. He says they will minimize avoidable expenses such as non-essential travel, conferences, and other administrative expenditure. Another suspect has been arrested in the ongoing investigation into the Steinhofer insider trading case. The 79-year-old arrested this morning is expected to appear in a Pretoria court later today, charged with 3 counts of the contravention of the Financial Markets Act. His arrest follows that of Stephanos Johannes Grobler, who has since been released on bail and is due back in court next week. Hawks spokesperson Katlego Mogale.
The arrest emanates from an ongoing investigation into Steinhoff, where in November 2017, the then Chief Executive Officer, the late Marcus Jooste, is said to have shared information on the selling of Steinhoff shares before they fell. Allegations are that the suspect received a tip-off from Jooste in order to sell his shares before their price dropped due to irregularities in the Steinhoff financial statements. The suspect in 2017 instructed that over 39,000 of Steinhoff shares be sold.
The Environmental Affairs Department has announced the Sandparks Vision 2040. The initiative aims to improve conservation by working with communities and other stakeholders, including through the use of technology. Some of the targets of the 15-year plan include building climate resilience in communities around parks, as well as creating employment in economically depressed rural areas. Sandparks chairperson Pam Yako.
I mean, there's a whole lot of other targets within the SDGs that we could be part of. Whether you're talking water, to improve our water provision, at least from a security point of view. So we need to make sure that we bring women on board. And also from a reversal of biodiversity loss and addressing climate change, that we've taken the necessary steps towards that.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says it has not given any response to a proposal by the U.S. and France for a 21-day ceasefire with Hezbollah. The office says the Prime Minister has called for the Israeli military to continue fighting with full force. More from the BBC's Hugo Bachega.
Despite all these growing calls for a ceasefire along the Lebanon-Israel border, we haven't seen indications from Israel and Hezbollah that they are interested in de-escalation. The Israeli military says its airstrikes targeting Hezbollah positions continue this morning. The Lebanese authorities are saying that at least 4 people have been confirmed dead as a result of the attacks happening today in the country. And we saw yesterday that the Israeli military has been told to be prepared for the possibility of a ground offensive in Lebanon.
The top story at 1 o'clock, it's been revealed that Gauteng Health allegedly paid 3.9 million rand to 7 Cuban doctors that had left South Africa for Cuba. The full circle follows next. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhaleme.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Weeknights on S3 are anything but ordinary. BBC Primetime brings you the best of British television from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. You love drama? Then step into the world of Luther as he cracks down on criminals terrorizing the streets of London Monday to Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Top Gear will have you falling in love and rolling in laughter as Jeremy Clarkson and his team take you on an automotive journey like no other, Monday to Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Channel your best entertainment with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up. S3.
Kickstart your journey to success in 2025 with the Durban University of Technology. DUT offers programs in the faculties of Accounting and Informatics, Applied Sciences, Arts and Design, Engineering and the Built Environment, Health Sciences and Management Sciences, open for applications for 2025. Applications close on 30th September 2024, but dates may vary. Visit dut.ac.za for a full list of available programs and entry requirements. Apply now through the Central Applications Office by visiting cao.ac.za.
Channel Heritage Day your way on Afternoon Express on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. As Chef Ruben Riffel braais lekker curried lamb skewers, we rock our traditional regalia, and Jules Harding of Good Luck celebrates her daughter Skylar's first Heritage Day, and it's orange malva pudding for dessert. That's Afternoon Express this Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on S3.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Shine so brightly, yet your night is darker than these eyes can see. Release your peace and bring us homeward. I can taste your freedom, though I'm never free. Oh. Taste your freedom, though
It is Tandin Dooley performing her breakout single, Cosmic Lights, which came out around about 2017, just in time for her to be named the 2018 Standard Bank Young Artist for Jazz. And she went on to actually headline at the National Arts Fair in Grahamstown in 2018. The album was Exiled, from which Cosmic Light found its home. And that is how we open up the show today, coming to you from a very windy Johannesburg. I think it could be a precursor that perhaps there could be a storm brewing somewhere. But in recent years, we've also had a lot of these dry storms in Johannesburg where we anticipated rain, and then all we ended up with was days and days of these sort of dry wind storms. But we'll see how the weather develops. I know that Durban, there's some warnings coming out from SA Weather about the beginning parts of next week for Durban from Monday, or KZN, not just Durban specific, KZN. Around Monday, Tuesday, they're anticipating some more freakish weather. I don't know in the form of whether we're looking at potential storms and floods, or we're looking at potential snow again, but I have been seeing those conversations during the course of this morning's news updates. We headed off to Durban, by the way, tomorrow. I think that's why Durban is on my mind. We headed off to Durban tomorrow for the show, coming to you live from the Durban beachfront tomorrow. Should be exciting times. I hope you're having a good day, and we are going to endeavor, at least for the next 2 hours, to take your mind off everything that's happening in Tshwane. If you are a resident of Tshwane right now, there's a power struggle happening, obviously at City Hall with that seating, but yeah, let's distract you for a second. And we thought we'd have a conversation with Dr. Nombulelo Jogazi, who is a PhD graduate from the University of Cape Town. And she undertook some research that looks into the experience of bully victims. We'll find out more about what that research unpacked and entailed. We also are going to be catching up, if you're thinking maybe of doing some business offshore, looking at maybe our, sister countries like Mauritius. We're going to be having a conversation around the services that are available for you there, particularly for family-owned businesses and local corporates within sub-Saharan Africa. That conversation is coming up in the first hour of the show. We're also going to delve a little bit into some artistic and creative disciplines. Stages, pages, screens, and more is coming up. After 2, we'll unpack some legal matters, and I'll tell you what is on the calendar closer to that time. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, and 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3, Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Get down to Dis-Chem from this Friday 27th to Sunday 29th September for incredible one weekend only 2+1 cheapest free deals on the widest range of sports supplements, energy drinks and bars from brands like Biogen, NPL, USN and many more. Get expert advice from our in-store consultants to help you reach your health and fitness goals. Excludes all advertised products. Only at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
Have you recently migrated to the new TV licenses payment website? Make sure your account stays active by registering again or resetting your password. Don't miss out on all the fantastic new features our brand new website offers. Get registered today and stay connected with us. With the new website, get your payments done quickly and hassle-free with a wide range of services. So make sure you register to take advantage of all the great client features. Visit www.tvlic.co.za today. TV licenses. Do it for the things that matter.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
We're catching up with a PhD graduate from the University of Cape Town, Dr. Nombulelo Jogazi, who has done some research for a groundbreaking thesis that's titled Identifying the Characteristics of Socially Integrated Mobile Bully Victims Using a Mobile Application. She joins us now on the line. How are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, Bridget. I'm well, thanks. How are you, ma'am?
I'm great, thank you. So it said here that your research explores the intricate profiles of socially integrated mobile bully victims. I think firstly, Dr. Nombulelo, let us get an understanding for the motivation behind this research piece, and then maybe even get a definition as to what you mean when you make reference to mobile bully victims.
Okay, sure. So what made me interested in doing research about mobile bully victims is because looking at international studies and studies that have been done in Africa and also South Africa, usually people look at cyberbullying as an umbrella term for any type of bullying that is taking place online. And they look at victims and bullies, which are the perpetrators of such behavior. And that those two roles have been studied extensively. However, there are very limited studies that look at bully victims. And what I found was actually there are also variations of bully victims. So what bully victims are in the context of bullying online, it will be noting the increased use of mobile phones. Everyone is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or even on all the social media platforms. So, and that is available on your phone 24/7. If something says if someone says something about this, basically that can trend for a long time, and it can trend instantly, which is why instead of saying cyberbullying, I focused on mobile bullying, because it's intense compared to when we just had laptops or desktop computers, and you can only reply to a comment at a certain point in time or after 2 hours. But now, since everything is available on a mobile phone, everything happens instantaneously. So you can trend quickly in seconds. So that's why I looked at mobile bullying. And bully victims, that role is basically someone, for example, if I am bullied by someone online, if there's someone posts a video or a comment about me, and then I retaliate, because now I was a victim first, but by retaliating, I'm bullying someone because the intention is to inflict pain.
I see.
Right? So that's what a bully victim is. However, it can also happen as I start off as a bully and someone retaliates. So that's what I'm looking at, basically. And then within, why I said socially integrated.
Yes.
Because we think people who are bullied or victimized or play on both sides, we usually, from a research perspective, we think they are marginalized. They're not integrated into friendship groups and all of that. However, in this case, I'm looking at people that are socially integrated. Those are the people where when someone posts a post about someone, even though it's negative or it's basically harassing that person, everyone claps, or someone retaliates and everyone claps and say, you know what, I like your click back. I like the way you responded to so and so. You see, that's social integration, because they have support from other people in terms of their behavior.
I see. Okay. So now I understand. So we're looking at someone who was perhaps initially a victim themselves, but then retaliated, ultimately becoming a bully themselves. Or, of course, on the converse, where you were the bully and then the victim retaliated for themselves, and ultimately that person now became the bully as well. So now we got two bullies in the kraal. And interestingly, when you point out at the socially integrated mobile bully victims, in my mind, I'm thinking we often assume that those who bully, whether they're retaliating or bullying firsthand, are often people who are reclusive, with no social structure, with no social integration. We've not put a term to it, but we've realized that, they almost feed on the claps. They almost feed on the applause that comes from online. What did research say about that connection and sort of how that feeds into each other?
Okay, so what I found is that it makes those participants constantly engage in that behavior instead of stopping anytime soon. Because, as you said, they feed off that the applause from others. But also at the same time, what I found is it's not only people bully because they want to settle a score or they're bullying someone on just for themselves. There are cases because these people are socially integrated, whereby, for example, they'll see a friend or someone that they value being bullied, and then they will bully them back, which is why on the outcomes of the study and as well as the findings, there was a component which I didn't expect, that actually this group has high consciousness, which means they feel for others. Basically. So that's where it comes from. So sometimes, even if they've stopped bullying others or retaliating for the sake of themselves, when they see someone suffering, because they have that experience of being victimized, for example, so they will say, you know what, since I don't want anyone to suffer again, I will try to stop this from the beginning on my own, because I see my friend is not responding. So let me respond on their behalf.
Does this also touch on the characteristics? Because your research uncovered the unique characteristics of the individuals. Does this also link to it?
Yes, definitely. Especially the part about high consciousness, which is they are feelers. They do try to protect others, for example, their friends, but also at the same time, when they retaliate in a hostile manner, which now brings the hostility aspect in as one of their individual traits, as people who participate in any mobile bullying behavior.
Yeah. Sorry, continue, Doc.
I see. However, what I also noted was that this is not just only coming from these participants as individuals. However, they also feed off the environment, because South Africa is is an environment with specific social beliefs, but also there's also high rate of violence that is happening. So the violence that people witness physically, for example, your community justice and gang violence. So some of the participants were from areas like that. And what I found, the levels of hostility were higher than compared to individuals that are in urban areas, because they grew up in an environment like that says, if you have an issue with someone, you deal it. And that translates to how they interact with others online. If someone says something negative, they want to fight back right there and then.
That was actually going to be my follow-up question to find out if there was any ties also to just the social dynamics of community in South Africa, and you've just answered it. Let's also unpack a little bit, and maybe this is where you touched on what you just said, right, about the immediate and still environment factors, because they do contribute to who we are and that hostility that we have on social media.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Bridget, for that question. So by immediate environment, it's basically family at home, what's happening at home. So for example, when growing up, if they haven't done their chores, or they will shout at them, those methods, that's what we call methods for coercing someone to do something. So because they've learned that if you don't get what you want, or someone says something negative about you, now it's not what I want. So how I'm going to deal it? I'm going to deal it violently. However, I'm online, so I can only swear at them or pick on them, say something negative about maybe how they look on their pictures or on the videos they've posted.
Yeah.
And that's how aggression then translates online, based on what has been learned from the environment, which is the home environment, or in some cases can be from a university, if the person that we're looking at is still at an undergrad level, or they are in high school.
Final question, Doc. What's the impact of popularity? Because we find a lot of these, whether you're intentionally bullying or now you are coincidental bullying by way of you retaliating, there's a popularity that comes with that. What's the impact of that? What did the study say?
Okay, thank you so much, Bridget, for that. So popularity does feed into the behavior, actually, and motivates the bully victim to continue to retaliate or to pick on others, because they know, one, they will get many likes on their post. Two, they can also get reposts, or also they will reach a wider audience compared to other people. Yes, so that does feed into their ego and the way they actually curate their post.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, very, very insightful indeed. Dr. Nombulelo Jokazi, thank you so much for unpacking your thesis for us. And that thesis is entitled Identifying the Characteristics of Socially Integrated Mobile Bully Victims Using a Mobile App, of which the good doc has started in development. And this is just a volumlomo, as she goes on to say that, this work can be used for future studies that can also incorporate machine learning algorithms to analyze posts and daily social media activities of those bully victims. But we have to leave it there from our end. It's gone 1:30. Madupi Makhalamele is standing by with the headline news.
Thank you so much, Bridget.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines this hour, it's been revealed that Gauteng Health allegedly paid 3.9 million rand to 7 Cuban doctors that had left South Africa for Cuba. The Deputy Environment Minister Naran Singh says Sandparks' Vision 2040 cannot be achieved if the government does not play its part and improve security and service delivery. And community leaders in China have announced sweeping measures to shore up the struggling economy, including through spending and reforms to banking, business and property. Details of these and other stories coming up at 2.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, and the show moves right along. We're going to be catching up with the Standard Bank Chief Executive for Corporate and Investment Banking, Bridget Masinga, joins us now. And we are talking around, Standard Bank extending its Mauritius offshore services to family-owned businesses and local corporates across sub-Saharan Africa. Good afternoon to you, Bridget. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Bridget, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for making the time. So let's try and understand this Standard Bank's Mauritius expansion and how that benefits African family businesses and corporates.
Thanks, Bridget. We have had an operation in Mauritius for quite some time. We have seen specifically in our corporate investment bank, it being a destination that's been leveraged quite a bit by the large corporates. We started to see a move for some of, especially the private clients, as well as the small businesses, as a very interesting opportunity for them to set up their businesses with a focus on Africa, the rest of the African continent. And so it was a natural progression for us to extend those services to that segment of clients.
What is it about Mauritius? Because I think this is probably one of 2-3 conversations that we've touched on, just looking at Mauritius as a potential financial hub. What is it about that region that makes it ideal for African businesses?
Look, I think that there are a couple of things. The first one is Mauritius just own a standing and the strength of its financial sector and banks in particular. Very strong banks and a safe financial sector. Secondly, it has had some benefit from regulatory ease of doing business for companies and corporates specifically. And lastly, it's a country that also benefits from excess of funding and dollar funding specifically, which can become attractive for African corporates in how they fund themselves and their businesses on the rest of the continent.
I see. And by way of helping, other sort of African companies tackle the economic challenges like inflation and currency issues, is Mauritius well placed as well to do that? And obviously with Standard Bank's expansion into the region?
It is well placed from the sense that given the stability we've seen in that economy, and the fact that it is more of a dollarized economy, we've seen less impact of inflation, and which the benefit for clients is that the cost for them to raise funding remains stable and it's predictable, which is very important for companies as they think about their businesses in the future. And then secondly, the point I made earlier, the fact that the access to specifically hard currency funding in the form of dollars, which still remains a critical source of funding for expansion in the continent, puts it in a very good space and provides some stability for a lot of our clients.
Yeah. Let's talk about, the bank's ability as well to enhance those trade opportunities via Mauritius. And obviously you've got operations in 20 African markets, so well-placed, well-versed and quite knowledgeable in this arena.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned up front, we've had our operations in Mauritius now for a few decades. We've got an experienced team on the ground. We've got, as you rightly point out, presence in 20 other African markets. And our ability to connect these trade flows and to access this funding on behalf of our clients becomes really critical in how we execute our strategy. It's one of the things that as a bank we're really proud of. We've taken a view that in each of the markets we'll have a proper banking presence, with teams on the ground, because we found that really gives us an ability to understand the market in a much more deeper way, which our clients find very valuable.
I mean, it definitely sounds like a lot of opportunity there for anyone looking to expand their operations offshore. Luvuyo Masinga, we appreciate the time with you this afternoon. And Luvuyo is the Standard Bank Chief Executive Corporate and Investment Banking. And you can just jump onto their portals and maybe get in contact as well with your respective business managers in order to explore everything that they have on hand for you.
Standard Bank Group, the biggest bank in Africa by assets, in partnership with SOAS, will host the 4th Annual Climate Summit on 1 October. This summit will host insightful discussions with various industry experts in charting Africa's course to net zero. The annual summit is one of Standard Bank's sustainability initiatives dedicated to driving growth on the African continent. Tune in to the SAFM Facebook page and be part of the conversation in shaping the future of Africa's energy transition. Brought to you by Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking.
Put a spring in your step with the Espresso Morning Show.
That's right. Join us for fresh ideas, blooming trends, and vibrant tunes that are sure to brighten your day.
Discover the best ways to enjoy this season's beauty, from garden tips to spring fashion.
Come on now. Plus, get inspired with lively interviews and my favorite, the latest in entertainment.
Basically, start your mornings right with us. That's weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
There's no road our buckies haven't traveled on. Roads to new beginnings. Roads to many firsts.
Enjoy your day at school.
Roads to delivering precious cargo.
Breathe, honey. We're almost there.
Even roads to saving the day.
Hey, we're going to have to tow you.
With every road that we've traveled for 45 years, we are what a bucky should be. Bold, capable, and reliable. Introducing the new limited edition D-Max 45, equipped with everything you need for every kind of adventure. Isuzu, with you for the long run.
The world's best football league makes its return to S3. Will Arsenal finally win their first title since 2004? Or will Man City continue their dominance of the league and win their 7th title under Pep Guardiola? Will the Dutchman in Erik ten Hag and Arne Slot have something to say as Man United and Liverpool step in to contest for the title? But it's not only about winning the title. For some of the 20 teams, it's a chance to improve on their performances from last season. While for others, it's the battle to avoid relegation and stay in the top flight. Every team has a point to prove. This is not just football. This is a masterpiece being played out every weekend. Channel your best sport with the English Premier League. Saturdays at 3 p.m. on S3. Open up.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
Hi, I feel it's a bit unfair to call people who retaliate, especially those who retaliate on their personal front, bullies themselves. Because, I mean, this person has been minding their own business, doing nothing. Here comes this somebody starting things, and when it backfires on them, now they can't take the heat. Now, I'm going to be called a bully for standing up for myself. If you can't take it, don't dish it out. And I can't be expected to behave properly when I have been behaving properly, but someone else decided to do otherwise. Hi, man, no. Why isn't this person expected to behave properly? Why is it expected from me when I was just minding my own business? Yena, Sia and Devon.
Stages, pages, screens, and more on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
I mean, I guess ngiyakuzwa Sia, right? You know, you have a point. I hear you. But maybe it goes back to that old adage, turn the other cheek. I don't know. I actually don't know. The dynamics of social media are just strange and bizarre, I think, for most of us. Anyway, we're getting into stages, pages, screens, and more now. Let the Fire Lead You Home, a solo exhibition that's opening on the 1st of October in Cape Town at the Everett Reed Circa Gallery. And this one is in celebration of her journey as the 2024 Blessing Ngobeni Art Prize winner. Artist Kiabeto Si Emma joins me now. How are you doing today? Kia?
Hi.
How are you? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I think we hadn't spoken, since you were obviously named the Blessing Ngobeni Art Prize winner. Let's reflect a little bit on the journey thus far.
It has been such an interesting one. I think coming off the varsity, you kind of don't know, as a young artist, how can you venture into the art industry and kind of penetrate the art market? And I think winning art prizes that are available to artists kind of helps you bridge that gap. So even just like applying alongside of artists that I was in varsity with and going through the process of the interview and having to produce new work in 2 weeks for an exhibition, I think was such an interesting experience in terms of being able to stretch my practice and kind of what would I want to achieve for the exhibition. It has been very great to be a part of something that like where we had workshops about our practice, we had a bit of mentorship around our practice as well, and I've been able to develop like new work in an exciting way, things that I wouldn't have been able to do on my own, but just the funding being available to emerging artists also helped me imagine a project, and having to collaborate with institutions like Delro who help artists around copyright. So yeah, it's been very interesting, not only just on the front of making the art, but also like the ecosystem of art in terms of your professional practice and so many other things.
Yeah, very important. Everything that you're saying, I think, very important for young creatives, even those well-established creatives, to get a good handle and grasp on. I'm always very interested in the process myself, right? And you say it was interesting to workshop around your practice, and I'm presuming some of that also touched on the process of how you come to canvas and the ultimate final product. Walk us through a little bit of that from your perspective with what you do.
I think for me, this project kind of came from a dream. I engage a lot of my work around spirituality and how do we visualize otherworldly things. And for me, like I engage in not only just certain readings, I not only engage in certain readings or around my practice, but I also take a lot of photographs of my matriarchal family. I go through archived images of my grandmother or my mother, and I kind of pull those different sources from either reading or the photographs or watching something around the themes that I'm considering, like Afro-Surrealism. Those kind of contribute to how I would imagine the work.
Yeah.
And I think what's very interesting about this particular exhibition is that I not only provide the viewer with monotypes or like 2D works, but I provide the viewer with 3D works and sound works that kind of allow the viewer to think of the themes that I am engaging with on different sensible levels, sensory levels rather, whether that is the sound, like how does the work come alive in sound, how does the work translate in a 3D way. So I think in my practice, I kind of wanted to use different modes of expressing the themes around spirituality or expressing the themes around womanhood and pop culture.
Yeah.
And even just the consideration of collage and how collage is taking magazines and newspapers and different disparate papers and kind of creating a new type of whole, also reflected back on the selfhood of a black woman and how she's almost a gathering of different disparate fragments and trying to create a new type of whole, and imagining that in a futuristic or like alternate type world or augmented world almost.
Very interesting. And I think that segues us into, the title of this, your first solo exhibition, Let the Fire Lead You Home. It sounds quite loaded, and with everything that you've now said about, tying it back to the matriarchs of your lineage, perhaps if you can unpack that for us as well.
Yeah, I think fire visually for me was just very interesting, considering how this body of work came from a dream, and I was interested in how that enclosure of like being surrounded by fire and what kind of symbols does it have for the viewer, and kind of what kind of symbols does it have for myself. And it's almost that I drew on the transformative symbolism of fire as a mechanism either for suffering or sacrifice or purification almost. It almost felt like I was coming of age as a woman and understanding my womanhood. And the process of fire representing a kind of refinement for gold was just very interesting and also visually appealing. I also considered how fire can be used as a vehicle in the work, and I kind of wanted people to go throughout the exhibition experiencing literally visually experiencing how the fire kind of has different symbols around it and how those things kind of remind one of home. And to some degree, the work may have remnants of home in terms of family and womanhood, but it also has this idea of a unknown space and a surrealness. Because it almost speaks to how the black experience or the black female experience is so absurd in society. I think kind of the different things that we experience, we might think of them as abnormal, and it kind of speaks to that abnormality of the violences that we experience or the microaggressions that we experience on a day-to-day. Those very things are absurd in some way. So trying to make sense of home as surrealistic or absurd was very interesting to me. And it was interesting to find how Afro-surrealism allows one to think of black trauma or a sense of violence or absurdity with black experiences, but also create works around fantasy and also create works around alternation and how the black experience kind of takes those two things to create something completely new and reimagined in some way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it sounds absolutely fascinating, and I think definitely worth a treat for anybody who finds themselves in Cape Town. Just by way of a parting shot, with so much going on thematically through your work, what would your hopes be for new audiences engaging you for the first time? Those who know something about art and those who know absolutely nothing about art.
I think I always prefer the viewer that knows nothing about art, because we don't make art for ourselves. It's not just a niche group of people that need to engage with the work. But I always find it so interesting for people that know nothing about art and know nothing about the artist and how they engage with the work, because that also allows me as an artist to reflect on how my themes can engage with audiences, and being also able to use language that audiences can fully understand and fully grasp. So I think I want people to go in with, even a lack of knowledge is great. Like, you don't have to know much about who I am as an artist or what my themes are, but I kind of also created the work in a way that visually doesn't require you to know so much about the work, but kind of draws you in some way. Like the function of a peephole box is also to slow down the viewer's experience and allow the viewer to kind of engage with the work on their own terms. And that's kind of the main theme around this exhibition, is allowing people to find their own way of navigating the space as an exhibition, but also navigating the work and how that can reflect on themselves.
Wonderful.
So there are little, like even using the elements of water and fire are things that a lot of us engage with in different ways. So I think those elements alone allow people to kind of feel seen in the work, because we all engage with the elements of water and fire on a day-to-day.
We have to leave it there, but congratulations on this, your first solo exhibition, Let the Fire Lead You Home, by artist Kiabetso CM, who is the Blessing Ngubeni Art Prize winner. And you can see that exhibition in Cape Town.
Becoming Elizabeth is the fascinating story of the early life of England's most iconic queen. With no clear heir, the death of King Henry VIII sets into motion a dangerous scramble for power. Elizabeth's fascinating and factual journey to secure the crown is filled with scheming, betrayal, and illicit relationships that threaten to bring forth her demise. At a time in which every man or woman of the court is on the wheel of fortune, which may take them to a position of great power one moment, or the executioner's block the next. Channel your inner royalty with Becoming Elizabeth, Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Think bigger than just a banking partner. Think a team of specialized experts supporting you to make better financial decisions to enable your growth aspirations. Think a strategic partnership providing indispensable advice to help you make the right moves. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
The wait is finally over, and we can safely say that Tropica Island of Treasure is back to serve you some really great entertainment. Tune into S3 from the 28th of September to cheer on the 7 teams who will be vying to win a shared prize of 1 million rand, a brand new car each, and become the champions of Tropica Island of Treasure Season 11. Fancy 50,000 bucks? Predict the champions of Tropica Island of Treasure, and you might be sipping that cold, refreshing Tropica all the way to the bank. Follow at MyTropica and at SABC3 for more information. Channel your inner champion with Tropica Island of Treasure. Starts Saturday the 28th of September at 6:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
Okay, a quick touch base with the folks out at the Jazzy Joburg Market. It is officially the 6th stage of the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, and it's set to make its grand return on Sunday. We're catching up with Blue Mabandla, who's the executive head for destination marketing and events at Johannesburg Tourism. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. So this 6th stage, making a grand return on Sunday. Tell us about the anticipation around the Jazzy Joburg Market.
What a huge growth. You will be amazed when I tell you that we started off with only 10 small and medium enterprises at the Jazzy Joburg Market. And our intention was to just make sure that people are able to buy souvenirs. But now we're literally the 6th stage of the Joy of Jazz. And that's a great return, the grand finale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did you manage to sort of, grow the enthusiasm and grow the desire around it over the years?
Look, I think the first thing is commitment. We've been committed to Joy of Jazz for the past 8 years. And we don't take our commitments lightly. We come with money. We come with brains. The Jersey Joburg market, for instance, was our brainchild when it started. And as you can see, it's still branded, with our name because of where it came from. And truly amazed by how much it has grown.
Yeah.
I think commitment, as I said, is number one. But also generally, Joburg people are making it happen. Remember, we are a destination that has people that that are diverse in terms of culture. We've got a rich culture. You can see our food, you can see our fashion, you can see our, a lot of things actually that define who we are.
Absolutely.
Just the fiber of the people of Joburg actually made it work. Their enthusiasm, in terms of the lifestyle events, and their attendance is always great. And they come with a whole lot of enthusiasm, as I've said. And the Joburg vibe generally.
Absolutely. And I mean, what we love about the platform is the fact that it does support local businesses and local creatives, right? And makes it even sweeter is that it's open and free for everyone.
Exactly. It has actually become a family affair for everyone to come with their families. It's a safe place. People can actually go shopping there. They can actually just be there, listening to the music itself. They can be there and, just exploring with friends, with family and the like. So it's very friendly to families and just, interactions with friends.
Absolutely. Give us a quick little teaser, perhaps, if you are able to, Blue, in our last minute, of what folks can be looking forward to, because I know that, it's a showcase of products and artisanal goods and things of that nature. What can folks look forward to with the 2024 installment?
Look, definitely we're big and better. And definitely you're going to see a whole range of products, not just for souvenirs, but also for your normal shopping.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking fashion here, whether you're talking food, whether you're talking...
Blue? Oh, there you are. Oh, no, we've lost Blue. She just dipped out for a second. I think connectivity, but I think we got the gist of the afternoon. So the Jazzy Joburg market, it officially wraps up the 2 days of the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, with the market being on the final day. And it's regarded as the 6th stage of the event. So it's happening on Sunday, the 29th at the Santon Rooftop between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. and the tickets are available for you on Quicket, and they're absolutely free, but you just have to go to Quicket to register and be a part of those festivities. As you heard, there's going to be products, handmade crafts, artisanal goods, delicious foods, and of course just highlighting everything that Gauteng and Johannesburg in particular has to offer for you. So Quicket is where you go. You got to register for you and your family so that you can get those free tickets, and it's open from 10 a.m. until 5.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
Alrighty, so Essential Cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. And all you have to do is SMS CAR to 43187 now.
The top stories at 2 o'clock. Steinhoff accused pleads guilty, and Cuban doctors allegedly paid millions without working. A very good afternoon. The suspect arrested this morning in the ongoing Steinhoff insider trading case has pleaded guilty to all 3 charges. 79-year-old Gerardus Burger appeared in the Pretoria Specialized Commercial Crimes Court. He was charged with 3 counts of contravening the Financial Markets Act. Burger was subsequently sentenced to 5 years imprisonment, suspended for 5 years, on condition that he does not commit the same crime in that period. The court also ordered that the money accrued from the sale of the shares be forfeited to the state. Action SA leader Herman Mashaba says their decision to work with the ANC to oust the executive mayor of Tshwane, Silias Brink, will not affect their electorate. The ANC has tabled a motion of no confidence against Brink, which is set to continue at the Tshwane House in Pretoria this afternoon. Mashaba says the DA is not interested in providing services to poor communities. He says their relationship with the DA cost them a great deal at the polls.
So in terms of us actually losing the voters, in fact, we believe this relationship is going to really get us more support, because we did an exercise immediately after the 2024 elections that one of a negative effect of DA relationship contributed to us only getting 6 members of parliament.
It's been revealed that Gauteng Health allegedly paid 3.9 million rand to 7 Cuban doctors that had left South Africa for Cuba. This is contained in a written reply to a question by the DA's Jack Bloom in the Gauteng legislature. Bloom says that the doctors were part of a group of 28 that were hired to combat COVID-19. He says the contracts of the 7 Cuban doctors were irregularly extended for another year, and they continued receiving salaries without working until May 2022.
It's really appalling that the Gauteng Health Department paid 7 Cuban doctors 3.9 million rand for an entire year while they were back home in Cuba. It shows you that there's massive incompetence in the Gauteng Health Department as well as probable corruption, and this needs to stop. We're wasting huge amounts of money while people suffer in our hospitals.
The Deputy Environment Minister Naran Singh says Sandparks' Vision 2040 cannot be achieved if the government does not play its part and improve security and service delivery. He was speaking at the Vision's launch in Sandton, north of Joburg. Some of the targets of the 15-year plan include building climate resilience in communities around parks, as well as creating employment in economically depressed rural areas. Singh says Sandparks can never achieve this alone.
Government has a responsibility to ensure that we create a conducive environment for these things to happen. Safety and security. If you want tourists in our country, will they be safe? We've had incidences outside some of our game parks where tourists were even murdered. When it goes around the world, what does it say to them? Don't go to South Africa. Good roads. How many potholes do you have? Are our roads maintained properly? Our rail infrastructure, water, electricity.
And communist leaders in China have announced sweeping measures to shore up the struggling economy, including through spending and reforms to banking, business and property. There are also pledges of support for middle and low-income Chinese. The BBC's Stephen McDonnell has more.
China's 24-man Politburo says it will strictly control the increase in commercial housing construction as a way of reining in property oversupply by developers trying to stay ahead of the creditors. The real estate sector once made up a quarter of this country's GDP, but it's been in crisis for years. The meeting in Beijing was chaired by the country's leader Xi Jinping, and its official summary acknowledges that problems have emerged in the current economic operation, while calling for them to be addressed calmly. It also said a new law was needed to promote the private economy.
The top story this hour: the suspect arrested this morning in the ongoing Steinhoff insider trading case has pleaded guilty to all 3 charges. The Full Circle continues. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemel.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by OUTsurance Essential. Get a quote today by SMSing car to 43187. So you think your older car doesn't need insurance, but what if your car accidentally caused damage to someone else's expensive car? OUTsurance Essential is affordable insurance for older cars, giving you up to 1 million rand liability cover and loads more. Plus, claims are paid in cash, so you can use your own panel beater. OUTsurance Essential is priced for cars older than 5 years, valued at under 125,000 and not financed. SMS car to 43187 or call 08 600 60,000 today. OUTsurance is a licensed FSP and T's and C's do apply.
20 outfits of the Premier League are back on the battlefield for another spectacular season, with ambitions to play the world's most competitive and compelling football.
Rodri! City 3! West Ham 1!
This is the massive fight for the ultimate glory.
Masinga, is he going to try and beat him from inside his own arm? Oh, boys, it's Masinga! I can't believe it! What a way to score your first Chelsea goal!
Experience the 2024-2025 Premier League season on Saturdays at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Win your share of 50,000 Rand when you play Winning at Live with One Life. Don't forget to enter on our website, safm.co.za. Stay tuned to the morning brief on SAFM. Keep your phone on loud and we might be the one to change your life. One Life is a licensed life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. One Life, changing lives.
Four dynamic design duos reimagine and reinvent 4 apartments in a century-old building nestled in the vibrant suburb of Sea Point, Cape Town. Armed with creativity, determination, and a limited budget, the duos fight against the clock to transform this grand old dame into a contemporary masterpiece, all under the critical eyes of an expert judging panel. The winning duo will claim a grand prize of 300,000 Rand, with an additional 100,000 Rand going to the fan favorite team, as voted by viewers. Channel your inner wow with My Design Rules, Sundays at 7 p.m, only on S3. Open up.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It's Trezo coming through with Msaki Sondela is the name of the song. That is how we kick off the second hour of the show. Listen, I wonder how the weather is shaping up in your side of the world. It's just when we look outside our window from the 6th floor right now to paint you a picture, normally we can see the treetops, the greenery in Johannesburg, depending on the season. And on a beautiful clear day, our eyes can see all the way into Centurion. It's quite wonderful. But today, it just looks like the clouds have descended upon us. And we literally just probably see, in range of 2, 3, not even 3 kilometers in front of us. But it's not clouds. It's literally dust. It's literally sand dust that has covered the entire city, and we can't see anything. It's crazy. And you see the trees moving and shaking, so you can see that there is a strong wind outside still. And the dust has just risen to the air. You can't see anything. Absolute madness. But I hope that maybe wherever you are having a better, clearer picture today. We're going to switch focus a little bit. It is a Thursday after 2, and so we thought we'd unpack a legal matter. And the Supreme Court has limited powers of some of South Africa's top human rights watchdogs. In a very significant ruling, the Supreme Court of Appeal has curtailed the South African Human Rights Commission's authority to issue binding directives. And we'll find out from our guest exactly what this decision means, what led to this decision, and perhaps what are some of the implications. Joining me now is Tanya Kalitz, who is an associate in the dispute resolution practice at the leading firm Cliff Decker Hofmeyer. How are you doing this afternoon, Tanya?
Good afternoon, Bridget. I'm very well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for taking the time. So let's talk about, and I don't know where to begin with this, if we should first begin by understanding maybe the history of the South African Human Rights Commission and their ability to render judgments, or should we begin with what led us to the Supreme Court of Appeal?
Yes, I think, Bridget, maybe a quick overview of the South African Human Rights Commission, and then I could maybe just speak on the judgment and what transpired there.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Let's begin there then.
All right. So the Human Rights Commission is a Chapter 9 institution, and it's similar to the Public Protector and other bodies. And these Chapter 9 institutions have been developed or created to strengthen constitutional democracy. And in the Constitution, there are certain powers and functions that the Human Rights Commission has, specifically in Section 184, and those are read with in addition to the functions that are set out in the Human Rights Commission's Act. So what happened in this recent Supreme Court of Appeal judgment is that the court did an interpretation exercise, and they wanted to determine what is the extent of the Human Rights Commission's powers and functions, and whether it extends to issuing binding directives or not. And so they just closely looked at the legislation, they looked at the Constitution, and they came to the conclusion that on a textual interpretive approach, the Human Rights Commission must take steps to secure redress, and that doesn't include issuing binding directives. So that's where we are currently at, and that's currently what the law position is. And the Human Rights Commission appealed to the Constitutional Court of South Africa to have this matter heard there, because they are dissatisfied with the judgment of both the High Court and the Supreme Court of Appeal.
Okay. As us layman's people try to follow. So talk to us a bit more about, so you say that this was in part to see whether or not they have the ability to issue binding
judgments or directives.
Yes, Bridget. So what would normally happen is for instance, if the Human Rights Commission drafts a report or they have a hearing and they have directives flowing from that, say, inquiry or hearing, or they've done an investigation and there are some recommendations and directives flowing from that. There was uncertainty now whether are these directives, if the Commission, for instance, says that the government must do this and this, or a respondent must do this and this, are those directives really binding? Is it authoritative? Does it have power? In the same sense as a court judgment initially, or a court order. And yes, so that's where they've landed. And yes, the Commission doesn't quite agree, and the Commission in their appeal papers to the Constitutional Court has asked the Constitutional Court to take a wider approach in their interpretation exercise and to kind of read into the law that the Commission actually does have this binding powers. Because if you just read the law as it is, there's nothing in it that's that say that they have these powers. So they are asking the court to take a wider interpretive approach.
And what would this mean, right? Because oftentimes the conversation is around how these Chapter 9 institutions are really toothless to some degree. As you say, they can't enforce any judgment or directive that most of them sort of conclude at. So what would a revised decision or a broader interpretation ultimately mean for them and their ability to then do the work that they do, which is by and large quite important?
Yes, 100%, Bridget. I think on the one hand, it does really bring concern about that they don't have these powers, because are they then really effective? Are they as powerful as they can be? But on the other hand, if you do look at the Constitution and at the legislation, they have another, a whole range of other functions and powers that they can still do and they can still exercise without this power specifically. So one of the other functions they have is, for instance, conducting investigations and doing mediations and educating people on human rights. So it doesn't render them completely obsolete, but it does really make them a bit less powerful in the sense. But they are still able to continue to strengthen constitutional democracy with the other functions and powers that they have.
I see. Okay. And I mean, I hear you by way of saying, they can still do investigations and mediations and the likes, but is there then an opportunity perhaps for the interpretation, because the appeal is still yet to come, right? It's still ongoing. The matter is still being looked at. Is there then an opportunity perhaps to look at how maybe whatever they ultimately find through and conclude through their investigations can then sort of be given the weight or the credence, whether legally or otherwise, if that can then be used somewhere by some other bodies, what I'm trying to say, that has the power to then enforce. And it then almost mandates that other body to further enforce the findings. Is that a possibility, a question that's out there as part of this conversation?
Yes, Bridget. So the route they would follow, and that's how it's been in the past as well, is they would still be able to approach a court of law and to have these directives made in order of court. But I think the Commission's difficulty with that is they don't have the resources and the manpower and the capacity to every single time with every single matter and complaint, go to a court, endure costs, and then have a court make a binding order on a specific matter. So that's the difficulty for them. If they have to approach a court every time to have a matter made or a conclusion made binding in a court order, they just simply don't have the resources or capacity to do that. And so their hope is with the Constitutional Court appeal, which we haven't heard from anything yet. So the court is still considering their papers, and they haven't given a direction on whether they are going to hear the matter or whether the matter is not going to move forward. They are really hoping that the court concludes otherwise and grant them this power. So it's all a bit in the air at the moment for the time being.
Yeah. And I wonder to our listener, as you listen to this conversation with Tanya, from your perspective as a citizen, and obviously watching these watchdog organizations, whether we're talking the likes of the South African Human Rights Commission, whether we're talking the Public Protector, how important is it for an organization like this, from your view as a citizen, how important is it for an organization like this to actually have that kind of power, to be able to go the full distance? Do you think that they should be given the powers that enables them to make binding recommendations and binding judgments? Or do you think that they are absolutely okay being toothless tigers, and then serving their function to strengthen constitutional democracy, but without having the ability and the resource to actually make whatever their findings and whatever their recommendations binding on their judgment? I'd be interested to know your perspective on this. 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note. You are, please, most welcome to do so, because to some degree this affects us, Tanya, as citizens, right? Because people always level that argument of, well, what happens once these reports are done? What is the next step? Are they just collecting dust in an office somewhere? Because, whether we're talking the Public Protector, whether we're talking the Human Rights Commission, it's a toothless tiger. For most people, they feel like that. So we spend all this time and all this energy, all this financial resource, and then what?
Yes, and that's exactly that, Bridget, because then it's up to the institutions, these Chapter 9 bodies, to monitor. So you have the report with recommendations, and you give say government departments or municipalities a certain time period to adhere to the recommendations or implement it. And then it's up to these bodies to continuously monitor and follow up and see what has been done. But it is really less effective in that sense, because we do find, unfortunately, that a lot of these government bodies and municipalities do not really take heed to the recommendations and these reports and findings. So then, yes, I think in a sense it is that it just gathers dust, because that's unfortunately the reality. That these wonderful, strong, effective bodies, Chapter 9 institutions, find themselves in.
Yeah. If the outcomes went their way, in favor of the South African Human Rights Commission, ultimately, what would be the potential legislative changes?
I think they would have to change the Human Rights Commission Act. So they would have to amend the Act in section 13 to 15, which speaks about the Human Rights Commission's functions and powers. And they would have to make an amendment to say that, to make a reading in to say that they do have this power to issue binding directives. And that's also not something that, it would have to go to the legislature. So, yes, I think that would be the option, but I think it's quite challenging when you have two lower courts that have come to the same conclusion, and to try to now get the apex court, the constitutional court, to overturn that. It's a difficult position they find themselves in.
I mean, interesting conversation, and I think probably the time is ripe for it to be had, because we've been seeing, especially in recent years, we've been seeing the role of these organizations within our democratic processes.
Yes, and that's why also, Bridget, I think the timing, as you say, it's really ripe for this, and I think the Human Rights Commission took the right decision to approach the Constitutional Court and to not accept the SCA's judgment, and to leave it into the hands of the highest court in the land to do a proper interpretation exercise and to conclude, whether they do have these powers or not. But I think at the end of the day, they can still continue and they are still effective with the other functions and powers that they have. So we shouldn't lose sight of that. I mean, I think the commission often mediates, and that's really of high value.
Yeah.
So yes, I think they are still effective, and they can still continue to do
their work.
Their work, yes.
Awesome. Tanya Kalitz, thank you so much for the insights this afternoon. Tanya Kalitz is the associate in the dispute resolution practice at the law firm Cliff, Decker and Hofmey. And I guess a lot of people will be keeping a keen eye on the developments on this appeal by the South African Human Rights Commission. It's it's almost past. It's basically past. So I know Madupi standing by with the headline news.
The world's best football league makes its return to S3. Will Arsenal finally win their first title since 2004? Or will Man City continue their dominance of the league and win their 7th title under Pep Guardiola? Will the Dutchman in Erik ten Hag and Arne Slot have something to say as Man United and Liverpool step in to contest for the title? But it's not only about winning the title. For some of the 20 teams, it's a chance to improve on their performances from last season. While for others, it's the battle to avoid relegation and stay in the top flight. Every team has a point to prove. This is not just football. This is a masterpiece being played out every weekend. Channel your best sport with the English Premier League. Saturdays at 3 p.m. on S3. Open up.
S3. So how can we make healthcare work for everyone? Join the discussion at the 2024 GEM Symposium happening from today until tomorrow, the 27th of September 2024, under the theme Innovate, Integrate, Accelerate, a Universal Health Coverage Commitment. And this event will bring together experts to shape the future of healthcare and tackle critical challenges such as healthcare access and prevention. And you can be a part of this important dialogue by simply visiting www.gems.gov.za to register and, of course, for more information.
Thanks, Sister Bridge. Good afternoon. With the news headlines at 2:30, Mudupi Makhalemele. The Pretoria Specialized Commercial Crimes Court has sentenced a 79-year-old Gerardusberger to 5 years imprisonment, suspended for 5 years in the ongoing Steinhoff insider trading case. Action SA leader Herman Mashaba says their decision to work with the ANC to oust the executive mayor of Tshwane, Silias Brink, will not affect their electorate. And South Korea's spy agency says it believes that the North now has enough nuclear material to produce at least a double-digit number of nuclear weapons. Those are your headlines. A full news update, 3 o'clock.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
Bridget, hi. This is Tsepiso. I'm just interested or curious to know about whether the doctor did really investigate the impact of one's mental health especially like, for example, there's this bully whom I so dislike on X using a photo of a young lady, and as a result of that, it has impacted so badly on her profile, her image, and her integrity. So my question is, I wonder if there's also a term called patriarchal bullying, especially on social media. How or whether did you perhaps maybe investigate on the impact of one's mental health or mental state? Thank you.
Aishem, Bridget, I agree with Sia. Here you are, living your own life, minding your own ish, né? Doing your own thing, the way you want to do it, and then people start ish. And then when, for years, not even like days ago, months ago or something, years. And then when you're like, okay, for the sake of peace. And then when you dish it out, then you're a monster? I know, Gandhi. Sweet people are not supposed to stand up for themselves. Since when?
Firstly, it's the use of ish for me that really packed the punch. But I think you'll both have good points. And, you know, it speaks to the earlier voice note that we played during that conversation as well. The gentleman was saying, for how long are you expected to just keep ignoring? If someone brings a problem to your doorstep, you know, some people believe that you should be able to answer to the problem that's at your doorstep, right? In the context of if you are being bullied, if you're just jumping into the car now. We were having this conversation earlier on with Dr. Nombulelo Jogaze, who's a PhD graduate, who's done a research piece around, you know, bully victims, socially integrated bully victims. And these are ultimately people who were bullied and then retaliated and are now on the other side of being regarded as a bully. And as you can hear from the voice notes, a lot of our listeners saying, well, you know, you're justified. If you are being bullied on social media for whatever reason, and we know the account, we're just not going to name it because we don't want to add to its followership, the account that is bullying the young lady by insisting on using her image. And to your point about mental health, she herself and those who've advocated for her and those who continuously defend her and those who continuously try to bring an awareness to the usage of her likeness by this account, you know, she's expressed that she's had psychological and mental breakdowns. She's expressed this, and she's expressed that she's experienced physical and verbal violence when out and about living her life because people associate her with that account, and it's completely unfair. And I think the one step above it all in that instance, for instance, is the responsibility of the social media app developers. You know, when you are being presented with proof that Bridget is using somebody's likeness and, you know, without permission, without consent, and this is the nature of the account, surely there must also be responsibility that lays with the social media app developers. You know, to jump in and do the right thing. But yes, that young lady has expressed that she's literally mentally and psychologically, she's not coping. It's been years. She's not coping and she's not dealing. So both of you making really, really valid points. It's a pity we couldn't get to these when the doctor was on the line to explore this conversation. But thank you for sharing your perspective. Let's get into Kids Corner now. Time for our kids programming, and then we'll come back on the other side and wrap up the conversation.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said, grrr.
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And to the reed dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom. This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
Channel Heritage Day your way on Afternoon Express on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. As Chef Ruben Riffel braais lekker curried lamb skewers, we rock our traditional regalia, and Jules Harding of Good Luck celebrates her daughter Skylar's first Heritage Day, and it's orange malva pudding for dessert. That's Afternoon Express this Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on S3.
Welcome to Nali Bali. Laughter is highly beneficial for our physical health. When you laugh, your brain activates your memory and emotional processing. Anxiety, stress, and depression are all reduced. There is a release of the feel-good hormones and improves circulation. Laughter also promotes muscle relaxation. The body is re-energized and triggers the brain to boost mood. Today's story is called Hyena's Love, written by Melody Ngomane. But before we listen to today's story, let's all get up and dance! You may wonder why hyena makes such a crazy noise. Well, he's laughing. And now let me tell you why he started laughing. Many moons ago, wild animals lived together in harmony with humans. They had all kinds of fun together until there came a time to choose a king. The animals wanted Lion to be king, and the people wanted Aki, their strong warrior, to be king. They had a meeting to discuss the matter, but they couldn't agree on who should be king. The little rabbit screamed at the top of a squeaky voice.
We can have 2 kings. We don't have to choose only one.
Everyone at the meeting went quiet. The animals and the people turned to Aki and Lion. Aki flexed his muscles to show his strength.
Just look at me. I am so built to be a king. I will be the king,
he said. Then Lion roared so loudly that the ground shook.
No, that will not happen. I will be king.
You guys are animals.
The meeting ended in a terrible mess. None of the animals would talk to the people, and none of the people would talk to the animals. And so began the war between animals and humans. The animals started planning how they could drive the people away. Elephant said,
I know. I can stomp my big feet and make loud trumpeting noises and scare all the people away.
Monkey, who was also swinging from a mango tree, also had an idea.
I can steal all their bananas while they sleep. Then the people will starve to death and will live in their nice houses. Those are such great ideas, Monkey,
said Lion.
Tomorrow we attack.
The following day, all the animals woke up at dawn while people were still sleeping. Elephant walked quietly up to people's huts. She trumpeted so loudly and stomped her feet so that the ground shook. The people woke up and started to run away, screaming. But Aki stopped them and said,
Hey, calm down. It's only an elephant trying to scare us. Go back to sleep.
When Lion heard this, he sent Mikey to steal all their bananas, but the people had already gathered the fruits. This made Lion very angry.
Aki's too smart. We need more ideas,
said Lion. Jackal, who was known for his clever ways of tricking others, hopped on excitedly and said,
I've got an idea. The people usually plan things the night before going to sleep. We should spy on them tonight. We can send Giraffe. She has a long neck, so she'll be able to see and listen from a distance. Wow, that's such a clever idea, Jackal,
said Lion.
We can even send Owl too. She will gather even more information.
Hyena stepped forward and said,
Can I go too? I'll climb to the top of the hill and keep watch. I'll be listening to their plans.
Lion nodded and said,
Excellent. The three of you will go tonight. I'm sure this will help us defeat the people.
We will get our own king and we will use this animal.
That night, Giraffe, Owl, and Hyena set off to spy on the people. Giraffe stood at a distance where he could see and hear the people, while Owl flew to a nearby tree. Hyena curled up on top of the nearest hill and waited. Together, the three watched and listened carefully. The people came together and sat in a circle. Aki stood in the middle of the circle and said,
Hold on, everyone, listen up. Before we plan for tomorrow, Granny will tell us a story as she always does.
Granny was a great storyteller, and each night she would share a story with the people. Granny stood in the middle of the circle and started telling a very funny story. Hyena could not help laughing quietly to himself. But the funnier the story got, the louder Hyena laughed. He rolled on the ground, holding his stomach, and laughed his crazy laugh. This made Giraffe and Owl laugh too. Eventually, Hyena was laughing so loudly that the people heard him. The people shouted. Then they picked up some heavy stones, grabbed their spears, and ran to attack the animals. The animals were not ready for this surprise attack and had no choice but to run away. The people won the war and Aki became the king. The animals eventually found a new place to live, far from the people. They called their new home the Bushveld. Here, they lived peacefully on their own. But every now and then, the sound of the hyena's crazy laugh can be heard throughout the land. And when people hear this, they say, that is Hyena. He still remembers Granny's very funny story. And so we come to the end of another Nali Bali story time. Today's story was called Hyena's Laugh, written by Melody Ngomane. Did you know that reading and telling stories to children at home can help them do better at school? If you want free stories to read to your children or for your children to enjoy on their own, visit Nali Bali website www.nalibali.org or Mobi site www.nalibali.mobi. You will find stories in 11 South African languages, as well as tips for reading and sharing stories with your children to grow their potential. Also look out for the bilingual Nali Bali Reading for Enjoyment supplements with great children's stories and activities available in newspapers. Nali Bali, it starts with a story.
Mzansi, what has become of our country? Gender-based violence is eating our moral fabric and we can no longer afford to turn a blind eye. This violence affects us all, occurring in various forms including femicide, which is the intentional killing of a woman because of her gender. It takes place anywhere, anytime, even in our own safe spaces at home. Working together with social partners through the National Strategic Plan on GBVF, the government aims to create a GBVF-free South Africa. As we acknowledge the gains from our 30 years of freedom and democracy, let us also work together to break the cycle of GBVF on our home ground. Call the 24-hour GBVF Command Center number on 0800 428 428 or text *120*7867#. A message from the GCIS.
Ask me how I know that 50% of car claims are pre-approved instantly. That's because I was one of them.
Yeah, they got my car back on the road with the first repair.
I submitted my claim on the ANG app. I didn't even have to call.
Auto & General is proud to be recognised as South Africa's best car insurer by Forbes and The Star for short-term insurance. Isn't it time you switch to award-winning cover? Visit autogen.co.za. Auto & General, never not there. ANG is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Weeknights on S3 are anything but ordinary. BBC Primetime brings you the best of British television from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Open your mind to Life on Death Row, Thursdays at 9 p.m. and Resistance in a Hostile Environment, a 3-part documentary showcasing turning points which would go on to define race relations in the UK for a generation. Thursdays at 10 p.m. Wind down your weeknights with The Outlaws, Fridays at 9 p.m. and explore the world's most dangerous roads at 10 p.m. Channel your best entertainment with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
S3. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, we're wrapping up the show. We're going to touch base with Samantha Moyana, who is a debt counselor with the National Debt Advisor. And we're talking around, just the importance of breaking negative financial habits to foster healthier traditions for yourself and for future generations. And we'll also look at maybe some strategic planning, because we're about to hit that time of the year. We know as Africans, December time is when we're getting ready for Imsebenzi, Umgidi, it's happening all over. And that's the stuff that takes a lot of capital. And we thought we'd ask Samantha maybe some strategies. It could be too late for this year, but there's always next year to consider. How are you doing this afternoon, Samantha?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. Cannot complain. Thank you for taking the time. Let's talk about, firstly, just breaking the negative financial habits, right? And we talk a lot on the show around how financial literacy, to an extent, is a learned behavior, or it's learned information that is given from one generation to the next, either by observation, conversation, etc. Let's talk about how do we break those negative habits that we've now gotten, because maybe we learned by watching our parents and grandparents do the wrong thing, and now we've sort of adopted it, thinking that it's the right thing, or knowing that it's the wrong thing, but still forging forth because we don't have the right tools to replace it with.
Our cultural heritage significantly influenced the way we manage money and build financial habits, as many of us grew up observing how elders handled finances, whether through strict budgeting or impulsive decisions based on cultural values. But now, as us as a new generation, we also need to adapt on how we can manage finances well, especially if you may be coming from a background whereby finances was handled poorly. I believe that now we have the resources in order to learn how to manage finances well. We have financial advisors. We have the internet to educate ourselves. So everything is more available for us now to be able to manage our finances well and educate ourselves, because financial literacy is important. One would think that it's easy to adapt, but maybe you're adapting a very bad habit. But making financial mistakes, I believe that will also teach you to do better.
And you know, when you talk about a sort of cultural heritage, right, one wouldn't necessarily say or associate our financial habits or behaviors or our relationship with finances to being a cultural heritage.
Yes, most people, because remember, you're being nurtured and raised at home. So most of us do adapt by the way our parents behave. That's why they always say a child will not only react this way, maybe there's some way this child has learned this from. So there are a few pointers that we do take from our parents. It is also an influence culturally, So I believe that maybe if you're coming from a background, your parents are more educated, they also instill how for you to manage your finances well. You're going to grow up with that habit and instill it within your own life as well. So cultural background does have a big influence when it also comes at how we manage money, because our parents, we take them as role models. Those are the first people that we get in contact with, we learn a lot from.
Let's talk, and I allude to it, the fact that, it is this time of the year. And as Africans, not just South African Africans, I feel like as Africans in general, when we get towards this last stretch, the last quarter of the year, there's a lot of things that we observe, a lot of cultural traditions and ceremonies and things that come into practice. But you almost get a sense when you track conversations on social and other places, you almost get a sense that we are never prepared. Even though we know that, the dates have been set, or we know that this particular rite of passage has to be observed at a certain age, or, as a ceremony to mark a certain something, umemulo or whatever. But it's like we are never prepared for those things. We don't know how, as adults, we start readying ourselves financially for that.
I believe it is important that we need to start saving for those big events, because we are aware that maybe December I'll be having a ceremony, either umemulo, or we're going to be having a lobola negotiation. So I believe that people should also interest themselves. You don't really need to maybe open a savings account. You can enter to stock sales. That is also another way of saving for events or any emergencies. And also for you to be readily prepared for these big ceremonies, because they don't just take little money, they are quite costly. So when you sit down thoroughly and plan financially from the beginning of the year till the end of the year, you find yourself relieved financially because you have planned for these events. It's not like it was just a sudden event that you had to attend or you had to prepare for.
What kind of strategies should we be using? I think of, for instance, I'm just seeing visuals here. Apologies. I'm going to update while tying it into our question. So I'm seeing visuals here coming out of Pretoria. The breaking news is that councillors have voted in favor of a motion to replace Tshwane Mayor Silius Brink. And obviously I'm seeing all the respective opposition parties outside of this coalition seeing the traditional regalia of people dancing, Xhosa regalia being amongst them. As I tie it into our conversation, Imgidi is coming up in December. Imcimbi is coming up in December. These are things that require hectic financial injection. When you think about the catering bill, the logistics, the decor, the setup, everything that comes with it. What strategies should families, particularly black families, be thinking about? Because in the Xhosa culture, for instance, the likelihood is in December you're going to do umgidi because everyone is going back home. And so it's the perfect time to do it when everyone's home. But we don't consider the practical steps and strategies that we need to have. For instance, when a child is going to university, you almost start thinking about that 10 years before.
Yes, it is important for people to actually start planning financially. It starts with budgeting. Like we are fully aware that, by the end of the year, ukona umgidi, for example. So you are aware of what's going to be happening. So that's why you find women, as I've mentioned, or anyone joining Stokfela, be it they're going to contribute food, or you've been saving for the whole year, For example, here at work, we also have a group whereby we have a stokfela where we're saving. So it is, when it comes to December, you don't have to be using from your salary to contribute for those events. So it's important for people to start opening savings accounts. Start saving as little as 200 Rand, or what your goal is. So be strict when it comes to your budget. Set that debit order for the savings amount to go off on a specific date monthly, so you are aware that this amount will be going off my salary every month until this day. It's important to have goals, be it for also education. You know that in a few years' time, your child will be going to university. Registration fees are quite expensive. Prepare now. It's never too late. You shouldn't be rushing yourself. That's why people find themselves taking out loans, credit cards, overdrafts for these expenses that they could have avoided should they have planned prior.
Yeah, and I think that is it. It's all about planning. We appreciate the time with you. That was Samantha Moyana, who is a debt counselor with the National Debt Advisor, as we wrap up the show from our end. Yes, those are the breaking news, and the visuals that I was seeing on the news networks is that obviously the parties that came together to disband that coalition are quite happy. It seems that things went according to their plan today. If you woke up in the morning, you actually saw the tug of war between Action SA and DA in real live time, and everyone putting up a fighting front, and it seems as though it's definitely gone in favor of that Action SA ANC. I don't know if they're calling it a partnership, whatever they are calling it, a coalition. I don't know, because politicians like to dance around with words. But Oliver is going to bring you more of that story, I'm sure. He's still in for Ashraf Gada right now on the National Pulse. From myself and my team, we thank you so much for choosing to be in conversation with us. And inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again tomorrow.
The top stories at 3 o'clock. Tshwane Mayor Celia's Brink is removed and hundreds of police firearms lost or stolen. A very good afternoon. We start with this news just in. Councillors in the Tshwane Metro in Gauteng have voted in support of a motion of no confidence to remove DA Mayor Celia's Brink. 120 councillors voted in favour of the motion and more than 80 voted against it. Earlier, Action SA leader Herman Mashaba said their decision to work with the ANC to oust Brink will not affect their electorate. He says the DA is not interested in providing services to poor communities. Mashaba says that their relationship with the DA cost them a great deal at the polls.
So in terms of us actually losing the voters, in fact, we believe this relationship is going to really get us more support, because we did an exercise immediately after the 2024 elections that one of a negative effect of DA relationship contributed to us only getting 6 members of parliament.
More than 370 police firearms and